here, and we are leading the forces of the mighty Spartacus. Now, something really fascinating about this particular scenario is the fact that it almost looks like Odenathus, or it might have been Paul that did this scenario. He's given each of Spartacus's main generals their own units, basically sort of like hero units. Now, these are the slave legionaries, and this is actually pretty accurate to what was happening during the time of the slave revolt. The interesting thing is we also have a slave army over here that's just arriving. You have to keep in mind that while Spartacus was the leader of the slave revolt, there were a lot of other generals that fought alongside him. And in this case, we are getting some Samnite rebels to assist us. Now, this is one battle where I can't blame the defeat on a lack of training because, believe it or not, Spartacus's forces were pretty well trained. A very large percentage of them were gladiators, but an even larger percentage of them, unfortunately, were just common farmers or common slaves, really, that happened to be working for farmers, things like this. So, you know, I think that really it was probably Roman army tactics that won the battle, and the battle is perfectly represented here in this particular DLC, well, mod, I should say. I do believe you need the Legion's Triumphant DLC to play it, but I might be wrong, because this mod does use some units from Legion's Triumphant. Now, over here, the Romans have managed to push forward, and if you look back here, we have Marcus Licinius Crassus, the commander-in-chief of the Roman army. This guy right here, as you can probably imagine, is very, very powerful, and we're going to have to go ahead and see if we can take him out. Let's take a look here at the chat. Veteran Italian rebels. Huh, that is weird. We'll go ahead and boost it even more, my friend. No worries. Yeah, that's the first time that's happened. I guess what happened was the stream went offline and didn't give me any sort of notification. Apologies for that, my friends. Those Romans look badass, says Pixel. Yes, they do. And remember that Crassus brought 2 legions to take on these rebels. And the fact that you would bring an entire legion to take on an army of slaves means that Spartacus's men must have been some very, very tough slaves. So here we go. Kind of thought that was a mistake for the enemy to get so close with the cavalry. Sure enough, it was a bit of a trick. They just got right out of the way as soon as we attacked. Now, as you can see, the hero unit here, which is a Thryax type of gladiator, he went ahead and attacked. And I guess right now, all we really need to do is keep the enemy back. We can slowly move forward and try and cause them some problems. But in general, I think we should be careful. So I'm going to get right up close and personal with them. I love this hero unit idea, but I want to see how it works. I want to see if it ends up working out well, or if it's a terrible idea. So let's take the Sagittarius. I'm going to move over here. I'm going to turn and fire. And yeah, he's actually getting basically as much damage as a regular unit would. So I guess that pretty much makes sense, and we can actually go ahead and charge with the Bestiarius. Bestiarius, as you can probably guess by the name, is, of course, the gladiator best for fighting beasts, essentially. Lions, tigers, bears, etc. Back here, we've got Spartacus himself. Now, he's, of course, holding the line for now. I don't want to necessarily move him forward too much. I want to keep him in the back. The last thing we need is losing Spartacus on turn 1 or 2. Look at that guy just running and an entire unit evading him. You've got to love that. And you can even see the strength of the unit is 1 of 1. So these do represent, I believe, Spartacus's many generals. He had a lot of generals, obviously, working for him. And I'm guessing that's what these guys are representing. So maybe what we could try to do, and I'm not sure if this is going to work. This would have to go perfectly for this to work. But what I'm thinking of doing is closing ranks on both sides of the enemy army. Sort of a Zulu tactic, which is basically hit them with the head of our forces and take 2 horns and sort of try and pincer around. Again, I don't know if we can do that. I think that's going to be kind of complicated, but we can certainly try. So I'm going to start moving these guys up to do just that. Let's take a look here. Everything is reversed. Very weird, guys. Let's go ahead and open up another page. I guess we could try that. All right, guys, tell me if you see the display capture now not reversed. Hopefully we got it this time. That is very strange. We've never experienced these kind of issues on the stream, so I do apologize, guys, for these tech issues, because this is very odd. Reverse, I have no idea why it would show us a reverse screen. Hopefully Agrippa's computer has not been compromised. I don't think so, though. It's all right now. Thanks, guys. That was very weird. This is the strangest stream in terms of tech issues, so I do want to apologize completely. Unexpected and very weird. So I don't know if it's the internet here in Portugal today. I don't think so. Maybe time for a restart after this particular battle. So we're going to continue moving forward, of course, and I'm going to try that pincer movement. I just don't think it's going to work. Also, because the secondary part of our forces over here, they're quite far from the other group. So I don't know if they could reach the enemy in time. It just doesn't seem like a likely scenario. Now, what I will do is I'll take Castus. That's his name, Castus. So Castus was sort of Spartacus's best friend. And he had a few really good friends, obviously, throughout this time. But he is controlling that left flank, the skirmishers. So we'll end the turn now. All right, yep, I expected this. This is a problem. The Roman legions are moving forward. They definitely want to meet us directly at the crossroads here. I mean, they know that they can beat us man-to-man for the most part, especially against the barbarian legionaries that we have. They're just not as good as Roman legions. So, you know, even though our guys are trained, they're not ever going to have the weaponry, the tactics, etc. of the legions. They can't ever beat that. The gladiators, on the other hand, during this battle and in general during the campaign of Spartacus, were extremely good fighters and many times could best the legions. But obviously, it's a numbers game, and the Romans had numbers on their side. We're just wondering what's going to happen next on the stream. Is the screen going to explode? We'll have to wait and see, guys. There we go. So yeah, they're bringing up that second legion, and this is exactly what Cassius did during the actual fight itself. Is basically have that first legion to meet the slave revolt, and just in case the first legion couldn't get the job done, the second legion would move in and mop them up. The first legion got the job done. I'm sorry. I mean, it's just kind of the way it is. He was being extra careful, and he definitely defeated Spartacus. There we go. Wow, so that single unit there, Gannicus, managing to actually fragment an armored cavalry unit, guys. You could tell that that's not directly a Roman armored cavalry unit, but rather some sort of mix here. Possibly some mercenary units, actually. Let's see if we could actually get a good impact, and we could. And look at that. We just broke an armored cavalry unit right away with Castus. I think that's pretty cool, guys. What about you? So now, let's try to use these other hero units. They seem to be really good. And let's see if we can attack the enemy here. 52 men. So one man, Gannicus, killing 52 men. Now, I think that's a bit of an exaggeration, but believe it or not, a lot of the gladiators that fought alongside Spartacus probably could get a lot more kills than a regular legionary. So I'm sure they could take down 10 or 15 legionaries before they themselves went down. Now, we also have Quintus Marcius Rufus, which is the buddy here of the attacking general. And I'm also tempted to attack this cavalry unit. It wouldn't necessarily go well, but I think we need to take the risk. I mean, that's Lucius Pomptinus, another senator and allied general. And if we could kill this guy, I mean, that would be huge for us. So I'm almost thinking we should take the risk just for the sake of the possibility of winning. So we're going to go for it. And in the meantime, I'm going to start moving these units up. We could actually already engage in combat with the enemy legions. And they did pretty well managing to disrupt us here. I kind of want to get behind the enemy, but just too many ifs in this battle, because if we're even just a little bit complacent, they could beat us pretty quickly in a hand-to-hand fight. So we need to constantly be getting, like, charges, offensive attacks. We need to basically remain on the offensive throughout the entire battle. If we stop for a second, then the Romans will start to wear us down. So I'm going to already start throwing some missiles here at these legionaries. What? They can fire from all the way over here, guys. These slave skirmishers are awesome. Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4 tiles away, and they can still get a nice missile shot. Let's take a look. Hey, Kendra, good to see you, man. Hold the rough terrain, Agrippa, says Byron. It'll mess up their attack. Ooh, I like that. Thank you, Byron. Byron says, by the way, since we get to see Panzer Corps later this week, saw some screenshots from PC2. Looks awesome. Oh, I hope I get a chance to show you guys some Panzer Corps 2. I haven't got a chance to play. Oh, it's at the top of my wish list too, my friend. It's at the top of my wish list too. All right, let's go ahead and we're going to fire with these incredible slingers. No! I just got through saying how awesome they were, and they threw their slings and did absolutely no damage to the enemy. That was kind of unfortunate. Okay, here we go. Now, if the enemy's smart, they'll evade, and yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. We caught them. So sometimes when a unit evades, guys, you got to keep that in mind. You know, I've had a lot of people tell me, like, there's no point in chasing a missile unit because they're going to evade anyway. That's not true. There is a chance the enemy will not be able to outrun you. That's always a chance that they take. So don't always say no to evasion or to attacking a unit that could evade. Of course, it makes things a little more complicated if they keep running. Then you should stop the chase. But trying it once, yeah, I say why not. Here we go. We've got Isiadris. And I'm wondering if Isiadris can do a good job against the cavalry here. He's got a chariot. Unfortunately, the enemy cavalry got out of the way here, and that could be a serious problem because, of course, this guy is now amongst Romans, and that's not a good thing. What do I know about Sanctus Reach's future DLC, says Kendra? Absolutely nothing. Nothing I can share openly anyway, so I can't really say. Let's see. Should we charge the Balearic Slingers? Yeah, let's do it. And there we go. Managed to catch them. These gladiators are just too good. So I'm actually going to go ahead and see if we can't get rid of a Roman legionary unit with 3 gladiator heroes here. That would be really cool, right? First things first, though. I want to try and get the cavalry. Okay. Next best thing. Deal with the enemy infantry unit. And I'm going to start sending these units out for a potential complete encirclement of the enemy. All right, I'm going to turn and shoot here with the Sagittarius unit. Then I'm going to attack with the Hoplomachus. I'm not sure what that's about. The Bestiarius, for instance, is all about fighting beasts, animals in the arena. So that's his specialty. And he seems to be pretty good at fighting men, too. Down to 17. We'll move this legion up. I'd like to get this legion up as well, but if that's not possible, then the next best thing is just to start moving these guys into the secondary formation. I mean, the Romans have that secondary formation set up, and we're going to do the same thing. So we're showing them that we're taking the same precautions they are. We should be evenly matched. All right, I believe we have to turn it over to the Romans now, guys, unless we want to attack mediocre Roman legionaries led by Quintus Marcius Rufus. And with poorly armed rabble like this, we stand no chance. In fact, I think poorly armed rabble, quite frankly, if I could just disband them, I would. Easily the worst unit in the whole game. Just poorly armed rabble. I mean, it's all there. It says it there. All right, let's end the turn here, guys. Let's see what he's going to do. All right, nasty charge there. And they are definitely making sure that the lines meet at this point. So one of our hero units did break. Now, I want to be very specific. This DLC is different. So it's not a hero unit like a general. It's just a hero unit represented by a single unit that's very strong. That's it. So we had one of them break, and it looks like our chariot could break also. A lot of good games are due out this year, says Lanzer. That's for sure. Absolutely. Wow, Lancer is number 1 on the leaderboard. You've got 11,000 slips there, Lancer. What are you planning to do with it, man? I'm wondering. You could essentially pick games for the next 2 to 3 weeks. By the way, guys, even though Chiro's out, I spoke to the product manager of Matrix, a really great guy over at the marketing department at Slitherine, and we are going to be bringing back the user choice stream. I'm not sure if we're going to bring it back this week or next week, but we essentially know it's really hard for them to get together a list of games, etc. It takes a lot of time. So I'm going to start doing that myself. You guys can still vote. I just want to get essentially a list of what they'd like you guys to vote on, etc., and then we'll move forward from there. Queue up a Shimano stream, says Pixel. Pixel's always trying to get me to do a command stream. I definitely might. That's definitely, and I'm not kidding, that's really something we might do in the future. I've gotten a little more comfortable with the smaller scenarios on Kamano. I might be willing to do one of those. There we go, guys. We'll get that a break on an enemy unit. It's not too surprising because it was just a missile unit, but again, it's showing that we can stand up to these Romans. And that Gladiator Venator there, the guy with the giant sickle in his hand, just killed 12 Romans that tried to attack him and wasn't damaged in the slightest. Okay, so charging here, not necessarily a good idea. Charging this guy, great idea. Oh, wait a minute, he actually... I didn't even look at that, but the Balearic Slinger actually was decent on the attack. I couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh, that's not a big deal. Okay, let's see. I would think fighting back with the chariot would work out pretty well, but apparently not. So let's see if we can send these guys in. And again, we'll only really... You can see that the difference in the gladiator skill is evident. Our slave legionaries versus their Roman legionaries, excuse me, the Roman skill is evident. You can see here that if we attack, even after we make the charge, our chance of losing is higher than our chance of winning. There is a very high chance for a draw, so it's kind of 50-50. But do we want to take that risk? I don't know. I think we want to try to weaken the enemy as much as we can first, and then maybe take the risk. We're not just facing, you know, another group of armed rabble here. We're facing the Roman legions. Oh, Byron. So Byron is asking, if you can, Agrippa, please tell the devs I'd dearly love to see a campaign mode for this game. Yeah, like Pixel said, there is a campaign mode, and it's a little different than some campaigns, but the way it works is basically you play a certain number of battles, and depending on the outcome of those battles, that gives you certain decisions to make as to how you want to move forward. So, for instance, if you maybe like beat the Romans in Syracuse, then you'll get an option. Do you want to chase the Romans, or do you want to wait for reinforcements? That sort of thing. So there is a campaign for the game for sure. And there we go, man. These gladiators are amazing. Look at this. Poor Romans. I mean, I still think we'll lose the battle, but we can at the very least take a lot of these guys with us. Let's try to confuse them a bit here. Start sending these legions out to flank. And kind of force them to make a decision. Force them to make a choice here. Yeah, Byron is saying the current campaign is a bit bare bone. I would definitely bring the topic up on the forums. There's the Slitherine forums are a great place to get in touch with the devs and discuss this sort of stuff. I have no idea what plans the devs have for expanding tournaments, the campaign system, or anything like that. But I would definitely go there to mention it. Let's see. Yeah, we're going to have to get into the fight here. If we can hold out for one turn, we'll actually be doing better. And here, the charge will actually go very well. These are veteran Samnite rebels. Okay, here we go, guys. If we could break Lucius Pomptinus, this would be a massive boost. Once the Romans see that even their own generals won't fight here, it's going to scare them. And actually, as you can see, Pomptinus dispersed. In fact, he might be our prisoner. It wouldn't be the first time that that Spartacus has taken an actual political official prisoner. He took a lot of taxmen prisoner. He took a tremendous amount of slave owners prisoner, of course, or just killed them. So it wouldn't have been the first time. Now I'm going to move my missile units here, and what I want to do, I actually am just going to do a regular shot, because I want to hopefully charge the enemy here with a flank attack next turn. If he's still around, of course. Yeah, exactly. Pixel was mentioning the progressive difficulty in the campaign settings here. And it is pretty cool stuff. So basically, you can pick just a regular campaign, or you can pick what he's talking about, which is the progressive difficulty campaign, and it gets really tough. You want to make sure to keep those units alive and just do your best. See, I'm annoyed by this unit because there's no good answer to these Roman legionaries. If we charge, it's not gonna turn out well for us no matter what we do. The one thing that might work out in our favor, the reason I'm gonna charge, is maybe just the force of numbers alone. Like right there, you see that 48. We just did a morale check. The force of numbers alone might be enough to beat them. So we're surrounding them basically with slave legionaries here. Of course, the enemy's going to evade, cowards! And of course, that forces our men to get amongst all the legionaries. So we're not going to do that anymore. Nice. Pixel says, I think we will see Justinian-era Byzantines next. Yeah, that does sound really cool. I can't confirm nor deny that. That would be pretty awesome, I must say. I really want to go for this charge. Yeah, let's do it. That didn't take too long. No, actually, he did get challenged. And the problem here is if this unit fragments, there is no coming back. If the hero units here fragment, they break, they run, they're gone for the rest of the battle. So we put them as our front line. They better do a lot of damage while they're here. And so far they are. I mean, you can see here, this legionary unit started with 480 men. Now it's down to 373 men. Just from two gladiators. So that's the stopping power of a gladiator unit. I mean, obviously these guys are trained non-stop to fight. I think that's pretty much all we want to do here. Yeah. We can't really move any more of our Samnites. Okay, yeah, we can move this guy back. Go to Old Custos. And this is Spartacus's buddy. If he could flank charge one of these enemies, that would be wonderful. Yeah, that's it. I'm definitely not going to move the Velites forward. And we can't fire because of the zone of control. And also, we're out of shooting range. Well, we could actually move forward and fire. That's what we'll do. 16 from one Velites. I love this guy. All right, we're ending the turn, guys. Keep those fingers crossed. Hello, Nikiforos Focus. Welcome. Oh, man. Yeah, they are... Of course, they're going to go after the legionary unit that breaks through. That's what we get for victory. And they are actually hitting the units that are trying to flank them. So the AI in the game is pretty good. And you can see there, they immediately saw that flanking maneuver. They could have gone for the weaker unit that was already being attacked by their troops and possibly gotten a break, but they realized that the biggest threat was the flank. And as you can see, they're doing the same with their cavalry as well, moving that over to the side to stop this unit from getting around them. I've noticed that in Field of Glory too, it's very hard to get a proper flank. You know, unless the AI is extremely slow, you know, unless they've got like really slow units, maybe no cavalry at all, getting a flank is tough. Really tough. Wow, congratulations, Nico Photosfocus. Byron XP says Roman legions don't do well when forced to attack on rough terrain. And I think there's probably very few, alternatives to that rule. Like, I think the Persians might do well on rough terrain. There are some factions that do well on rough terrain, but it's rare. There we go, breaking through on that left side very well with the forces of Castus. Hello, Kandra. I saw you before, but I see you. You're playing roulette now. Nicely done, man. Yeah, that unit broke. And like I said, that's a risk that we just had to take. Now here, we might be able to break that. You know, I'm amazed that that Legion is still standing around. I think they're just afraid of running and having to tell their buddies that they ran away from 3 guys. I think that's why they're not running yet. But they will soon. So here we go. We could actually use our well-armed slaves. Ah, they're running. Let's go ahead and keep on fighting with our Bestiarius. Enemy's holding firm. Come on, break. They're holding firm. Unbelievable. These Roman legionaries, man. Look at this. They had 480 men. They have 229 now. You can see all the bodies on the field. They are not giving up. And when you see that tattered flag, I hope you guys know what that means. That basically is representative of not necessarily the unit's morale, but more the cohesion of the unit in general, like the amount of men, the morale, everything mixed. And you can see right now it's in tatters. So first thing I want to do is see if I can hit this guy. Unfortunately, I can't. I think it's due to the zone of control. What we might try to do... Again, everything has to go perfectly for this to work, but I'm still going to try. Start getting our guys right there up on the line. I like this idea. Now, again, slave legions standing up to Roman legions, not much of a fight. But there are still ways we can win. So again, flank attacks work wonders. Okay, let's see if we can finish off this legion here, guys. These are also cut off, and I think if we start cutting these guys off and surrounding them, and basically just trying to cut them piecemeal, like bit by bit, we do stand a chance at getting a victory. But, you know, each attack they withstand and hold firm on makes that less and less likely. Especially in situations like this, and especially in situations like this. This unit is finished. There's no way we're going to save them. They are gone. So we need to focus on the units we can save. Before we were actually firing at this unit, and I think I want to keep that up. Especially like if I start a physical attack on a unit, I tend to want to continue that physical attack, or the missile attack, I should say, until the unit makes contact. So in this case, I'm going to keep it up. Hasn't really even charged our guys. He just kind of hung out there. Come on. This is our Thryax. And we've disrupted the Roman legionaries. I wonder if the Venator can get rid of them entirely. I'm not really sure what kind of weapon that is. I'm sure one of you guys... I think it's a Falx, if I'm not mistaken. It's just basically a giant curved sword. And this guy's about to run through a Roman legion with a giant curved sword. That thing can definitely cut through armor. And it can definitely cut through shielding. So the enemy is on the verge. They're definitely on the verge, but they haven't broken yet. Now, we could be crazy. We could send Spartacus forward right now. I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do is send our legion forward. And I was actually hoping we could turn it. So I'm going to undo. I don't like to undo moves in this game because I consider it a bit cheap to do that. But I don't really have a choice. So I'm just going to face the enemy for now. I'm not even going to go into that tile. I'm just facing them so that if they move in here, we're ready to attack. And there's Spartacus waiting for them. Believe it or not, you know, Hollywood represents Spartacus a certain way, but I'm sure the real Spartacus probably did have some pretty cool armor, some pretty decked out stuff. Like the character here. He wasn't necessarily, he didn't look like a slave. The same is true with William Wallace in Braveheart. He was actually a noble and was very wealthy. Let's take a look here. Now, in the case of Spartacus, of course, Spartacus was not a noble, but through being able to raid a tremendous amount of villas, he pretty much became nobility, wealth-wise. So let's see if we can break these raw legionaries. They're even less trained for the fight than the slaves we've liberated. I mean, these raw legionaries, they've just been thrown into the fight. They've been given armor, no training whatsoever, and they've just been said, hey, best of luck. So I'm hoping we can break them pretty easily. I am going to overwhelm this unit. I saw that we were going to get a loss there only because if we attack with enough units on this guy, we've learned that we can actually start disrupting them, as you guys can see there. So if we can keep that up, that is an absolute potential for victory. Charge. So even if the odds are against us, I am going to keep on attacking because there is a chance that we can eventually break them just with the amount of attacks, basically. I guess the laws of probability will be on our side. This unit's in trouble. How funny would it be, though, if the poorly armed rabble actually got a decent... Poorly armed slaves, guys. Look at this. 93% flank charge. If we can break an enemy unit with poorly armed slaves, that would be amazing. Look at that. That's a first. Now I just need to do it with rabble, and my life will be complete. Alright, I'm going to keep that guy back. There's no reason for him to really approach. Now with this guy... That sounded weird. This guy, we can actually go ahead and do a flank charge. So I'm going for that. And we're doing this with Costus. Costus is commanding these forces on the left. Of course, one of Spartacus's main generals. And one of his best friends. We are going to try to get a flank attack here. I think we can make it work. And if not, we'll just keep on trying. Alright, let's end the turn there. Unfortunately, this unit is gone. The poorly armed rabble, they don't stand a chance. Thank you, Pixel. So he's putting up the Venatio type of gladiator. And yes, there are a bunch of different types. The Murmillo class, the Bestiarius, the Venatio. There are, I think, probably 20, 30 classes of gladiator. Each one would have a certain role to play. You know, the Bestiarius would take on animals. The Murmillo would often be brought forward to take on, you know, prisoners, things like that. Where maybe they'd be given like a little dagger and the Murmillo would have to fight them off. Another thing that people often don't realize about gladiatorial fights is that in many cases, especially now under the reign of certain emperors, one of them is the son of Marcus Aurelius, the guy that the movie Gladiator mentions. Of course, they depict him pretty terribly. Commodus, that's his name. Now, the Emperor Commodus did have gladiatorial games where many gladiators died. But one thing that a lot of people don't realize is 80% of gladiatorial fights did not end in death. So just like you would see sort of like, you know, wrestling, quote-unquote wrestling today, there was a lot of that in gladiatorial fights. And the fact is, when you have a gladiator that's gotten a few victories, you don't want the guy to die. You want him to stick. You want to have him stick around. You want the crowd to develop a rapport with him. So a lot of these gladiators would sort of fake a fight. Maybe they take a cut. Maybe they would they get knocked out. Maybe they'd surrender to sort of show their submission to the other gladiator. But really, those fatal gladiator fights, I wouldn't say they were few and far between, but they were done on special occasions, religious ceremonies, things like this. The election of a new emperor, we'd probably have a few gladiators killing each other. But you know, you got to admit that the sort of belief that gladiators were always in a lethal fight, that's just not the case. It's just not the case at all. In fact, many were very, very wealthy. In fact, not specifically gladiators, but riders in the hippodrome, charioteers in the hippodrome, per capita were the highest paid athletes of all time. And gladiators were very, very high up there as well. So this was the equivalent of basically being an NBA basketball player, except you're fighting in a potential fight for your life, and you're also kind of a slave. Obviously, a lot of gladiators were able to buy their freedom, things like that. In the case of Spartacus's men, they took it. Oh, absolutely. Pixel's mentioning a lot of animals got killed and mistreated. Absolutely. I mean, a lot of animals, a lot of criminals. It was very common for somebody that did a petty crime, you know, maybe just stealing, something like that, be thrown into the gladiatorial arena. Best of luck. You know, if you can survive, we'll let you go. You weren't going to survive, of course. So criminals, things like that, animals, you're absolutely right. There was a lot of brutality. But the gladiators got away. A lot of them, you know, the popular ones got away with a lot. And usually, you know, even if you were facing a popular gladiator, a lot of the times you'd be asked to lose the fight on purpose. So, you know, submit to the popular gladiator, essentially. So there we go. Look at those Roman legionaries, man. They must have lost 2/3 of their strength. All right, half their strength, and they're still sticking around. Come on, boys. You really should do that Quadriga stream, says Pixel. We'll see if we can't get the product manager to put Quadriga as one of the choices. I'd love to do a Quadriga stream. It's a very I think visually simple game, but I just love it. I love the idea of commanding a team of charioteers. It's just a really cool idea, and it's a great suggestion because it shows why those hippodrome racers got paid what they did. I mean, it was an extremely dangerous sport. Here we go. 19. Come on. He still held firm. There we go. Auto brakes. Beautiful. Do we get a morale check? We do. Guys, another unit disrupted. Can we roll up the enemy? That's the question. Because if we can, that's going to be beautiful. I don't think so, though. Let's turn and fire with our slingers. And I'm actually going to go for a charge against the Cretan archers. Nice! Now, there is still the fact that there are massive amounts of Roman legions approaching this location. So don't get excited yet. There were even women gladiators. Yep, T-1. Yes, absolutely. Just like, and there you go. That's a perfect point. Just like the sort of wrestling today, you know, faked wrestling, where there are women, you know. So that was also another way to attract people. And of course, I'm sure you guys were aware of the recreations of battles. This was very common. So, for instance, if I'm an emperor, and you know, I want to commemorate a battle. Let's say it's the you know, it's the memory of the Battle of Alesia. I mean, you would actually have people, you'd actually have engineers brought into the Colosseum to build this battle set. And then you'd have two groups. You'd usually give the criminals, they would be the bad guys, the non-Romans. And then the gladiators would dress up as Roman legionaries, and they would be the Roman heroes coming to stop the barbarian hordes. And this was a very common theme, and that would happen a lot. I'm sure the price of these particular games must have been exorbitant. I mean, it must have been absurdly high. Now here we go, guys. 31, fragmented. Boom, auto brakes. And the unit dispersed. So we're going to go ahead, and we're also going to attack here. I thought for sure we would break them there, but that's amazing. I mean, we're just having single gladiators breaking entire groups of units. And, you know, at the actual Battle of the Salarius River, you had depictions of this. You had depictions of gladiators going down, being stabbed and killed, but only after taking out a bunch of legionaries. So basically being surrounded by legionaries and stabbed to death that way. Because one-on-one, the gladiators probably kill every single legionary there. These guys are fighting every single day of their lives, training every single day of their lives. It doesn't get much better in terms of experience than that. Okay, we're going to charge in. This is why we brought this unit over. It doesn't look like that initial charge, though, is going to be very effective. So hopefully carrying out and continuing the charge will be. I'm also not going to charge the veteran armored cavalry because now they're facing us, and they look a lot scarier up close. Once again, here, we'll just let the chips fall where they may. There's no point in attacking. Oh, Lanzer. Yes, Pixel is right. I think I mentioned it in the beginning of the video, but obviously that wasn't being streamed. There were two legions. Basically, there was the initial legion that he brought to defeat Spartacus, and I keep saying he. I want to get the name of this general because I should remember this. So yeah, Marcus Licinius Crassus. Crassus brought an initial legion, and then he brought a secondary legion as reinforcement, just in case the first one didn't get the job done. I really don't think I wouldn't say that I really don't think Spartacus could have won the battle, because he won some other battles where the odds were totally against him as well. But, you know, basically what he was able to do, Crassus, was really take as many precautions as necessary to beat Spartacus. At this point, the Silesians had already left. Spartacus was trying to escape with a group of Silesian pirates. There's a little bit of debate as to whether it was Spartacus that just said, listen, we're not interested because we want to raid the rest of Italy, or whether it was the Silesian pirates that just tricked him. Honestly, either is possible. Let's go ahead and take the Bestiarius and go after the cavalry. Sure enough, look at that. We've got him trapped. But we can't attack with any of these units. Let's see if we can attack. It's okay. I'll take this. Hit the Roman cav. And the Bestiarius is made for killing animals, so he would be perfect against a cavalry unit. I feel like we have a big chance of winning here. It's going to take a little longer. But even on the charge, you know, this is looking okay. So I'm not sure why this guy can't attack. I'm going to turn towards the enemy here. I want to see if we can get a flank charge on this unit. Look at the distance covered there, and the slave cavalry can still catch up. Now, this is obviously a general unit. This is Castus, Spartacus' best friend, loyal ally, companion, etc. And he's just got a slave cavalry unit, but we could have potentially broken them there. So it's probably not a bad idea to keep our focus on this left flank. 49, look at that. Those raw legionaries are starting to be fragmented. Yes, Lancer, that's a great point, and you know, one of the many mysteries of Spartacus and his armies. Lancer was mentioning that they did manage to get all the way to the Alps, and you have to keep in mind this was after cutting through the Italian countryside, past a bunch of armies. It's just incredible what they were able to do, freeing a bunch of slaves along the way, defeating armies along the way, even capturing legionary standards. I mean, you have to understand, for an enemy army to capture a legionary standard was considered the worst form of betrayal. If you were in a unit and you lost your legionary standard, it would be your job for the rest of your life to get that standard back, or you would basically be disrespected for the rest of your life as just a coward. Now, if a slave army steals your standard, oh man, you've got problems. You've got big problems. And he certainly stole a lot of standards, and what he would usually do is melt down the gold, turn that into gold coins. Good idea, I think. Very good idea. But yeah, I think what you were mentioning there, I would guess that the reason he turned back was because a lot of the men weren't interested necessarily in going home because they didn't have a home to go to. They wanted to keep looting. They wanted to keep making money. Maybe they even thought that they could get a deal from the Romans. I certainly would have thought that, where the Romans would pay them off in exchange for them dispersing. This was something that the Romans did with a lot of different armies. So it wouldn't have been the first time they tried something like that. That's my guess. Again, am I right? I have no idea. Only history knows. Well, really only Spartacus knows, but there's that too. Okay, I think that's all we're going to do for that move. That Merv. I somehow mixed Murmillo and move. That's great. All right, these units can eventually join the battlefield, the slave archers. No, that's it. We'll end the turn, guys. And it looks like the rest of the army's getting here. The rest of the Roman army, they're really filling up the ranks. At least we know that they feel threatened enough to send in that second flank. Now, that's not good. We had some Roman units rally there. I don't like that. Okay, wow, we've got some enemy charges here on our main hero units. But as you can see, 24 of the enemy down, 0 of our guys down. They're crazy. Don't attack professional gladiators. Absolute insanity. I do believe also, I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that Crassus was also a consul at this point, or at least very close to being a consul. He's certainly in the Senate. And so being able to beat Spartacus was a pretty big deal. That being said, having to take 2 legions to beat a slave army, this was one of the few times there was any respect involved in that. You know, beating back slave armies was generally considered a job of the auxilia, considered a job of local militias, not a job of a legion. So the fact that they even had to dedicate 2 legions to beat Spartacus it would probably cost them a tremendous amount of money, though certainly not as much money as they would have lost if Spartacus was allowed to continue basically raiding the countryside. Plus, they're on rough terrain. Ah, Byron. So maybe that's why we're doing a lot better here than I expected we would do, at least. There we go. Another unit breaks. Come on, morale check. Oh, they're doing so well on their morale checks. Now, another thing I don't know, and I should actually ask the devs about this, is if you're surrounded by a bunch of units, do your morale checks, are they, in other words, if you're surrounded by a lot of friendly units, is the chance of them failing a morale check less? Maybe it is. So in other words, if you're like next to one unit, maybe their chance of failing the morale check is higher. But if, you know, you're surrounded by your buddies here, then the chance of them failing the morale check is pretty slim. I'm thinking. Again, I'd have to ask. Okay, let's get into a fight. Oh, it's like that, is it? Just evading us. Okay, let's get the flank charge here. Boom! Fragmented, guys. And, oh, I thought it was going to be a break, but it's going to be a break now. Oh, no. Wow, they're still fighting. Like I said, the level of disrespect of a legion losing to a slave army would be horrible. So I think that's why the fragmentation has been a bit tougher here. Okay, so Byron, a great point here. So the attacking unit attacks into the terrain the defending unit is standing on. In this case, your heroes are on rough terrain, which messes up the dense formation of the legionary units, decreasing their effectiveness. Interesting. Boom. Once again, we're going to go for those missile strikes. Let's see how many of these Romans we've killed with just missiles, because remember, this unit has not had any attacks. They're veteran Roman legionaries, so they don't want to lose these guys. They started off with 480 men. They're down to 394. I would say taking out 86 veteran Roman legionaries, mind you, with slave skirmishers is pretty embarrassing to the enemy. Going to fire from the woods. 6. Good hit. Good hit, boys. What about over here? This is where we actually stand a chance. I really want to break the unit with the poorly armed slaves. Oh, no, the zone of control. So the enemy does control the zone of control here. Oh, yeah, we've got Quintus Marcius Rufus. I believe this was the other consul right here. He is stuck. We're going to go for a flank charge. We've caught him with Gannicus, one of our generals. He's fragmented. Charge. Breaks. Yes, guys, we just disrupted and got rid of another enemy general. If we keep playing this, we could potentially get a victory, believe it or not. Auto breaks. Oh, this is beautiful. Keep it up, boys. Irregular foot. For Spartacus. And for freedom. Okay, they held firm there, but man, that is a great start. And actually, look at this. We can get that extra charge. Although I'm actually going to hit this unit with our buddy Castus. Breaks. And there we go. And the enemy is morale checking really well, I have to say. They're doing extremely well in their morale checks. And the reason we're doing so well against these legions, it's two reasons, really. It's the fact that we're using the veteran rebels. These are veteran Italian and Samnite rebels. These guys have been with Spartacus since the very beginning. That's number one. And number two, most of the legionaries we're facing over here on the left side are raw legionaries. They basically just gave him a gladius and a shield and said, hey, best of luck. We can't train you, but just kind of stab in the general direction of the enemy and cover your flanks, and you should be okay. Of course, that was far from the truth. 29. See how we do with the Thrax against this group. 20 down. Man, it's beautiful. And I'm going to send Spartacus in, guys. That's right. I'm sending Spartacus in for the attack here. Spartacus, 18 down. We'll send in this hero unit as well, but actually I'm going to use it to attack this cavalry unit since they're already disrupted. Hammer and anvil, exactly. That's exactly the kind of tactics we need to win here. We chisel off a piece, we knock it out, we chisel off the next piece. If we try to take the entire Roman army all at once, like a regular army would, we will not be able to succeed. But that, that chiseling effect could certainly work. I think this guy's about to flank us. That's not good. Oh, and now that we attack, the enemy no longer controls the zone of control, guys. We might be able to get yet another rout here. As you can see, 298 out of 480. No, I think they'll hold, but we can certainly do a lot of damage here to them. 20. They broke. Beautiful. One less thing to worry about. Love the javelin stuck in the ground here and the dead Roman legionary. But as you can see, we got the Romans to 25%, guys. We're 12% on our side. I mean, I think if this battle continued, we could potentially win. We really could. Pretty amazing. I think one of the issues here is that they didn't do what Cassius did in the actual battle. What Cassius did in the actual battle was he sent his first group forward, and the second group stayed back waiting. And the reason that's so creepy is he basically figured out, like, if that first group gets wasted by the slaves, killed, then at the very least they've weakened the slaves enough to where this second legion will crush them. So he was sacrificing essentially that first legion. But like I said, he was well prepared. He was very well prepared. And, a lot of you guys were mentioning the different sort of mystery surrounding Spartacus. And it's true. I mean, once Spartacus got to this point, this is when he should have not given up, but he should have gotten away. He should have, gotten on board with the Silesian pirates or done something to get out of Italy. But then again, that begs the question, then where would he go? It's really tough to answer. A lot of these guys that were captured by the Romans, they were usually captured in battle or during a conquest. So perhaps the tribe he belonged to or the cultural group he belonged to didn't even exist anymore. So if he went back to the lands that he was originally from, who knows if he would have even been accepted? There's all sorts of questions that come to mind. That being said, guys, I am very sorry about those problems at the beginning of the stream. Like I said, we've never had an issue like that before, and hopefully we won't have one again like that. I do apologize for that. That being said, I hope that these extra few minutes at the end assisted, and we are definitely going to save this battle because I want to get a victory here. In fact, I'm going to call it victory. All right, my friends. Thank you so much for stopping by, guys. It's been awesome as always, and I hope you all have a great day. Like I said, we're going to try to get the user stream, or I should say the user choice stream back as soon as possible. I just need to talk with the folks at Slytherin and sort of get that set up, but that's definitely something we want to do. Thank you so much, guys. Take care, and have a great, great day. Pixel says he'd love to see the conclusion of the battle, either as another stream or YouTube video. Again, for these kind of things, I would highly recommend you guys to post on the forums because I would love to continue this on the Slytherin YouTube channel, but I have to get their okay for that. And then we could certainly consider it. Thank you, guys. Take care.